Hi there, I'm Cathi from Software Solutions, and we're now going to have a look at a feature in Excel called Fill Series or Autofill. Using the file that I have in front of me, though you could use any file for this, I'm going to insert a new sheet by hitting the circle and the plus at the bottom where the sheets are here. I'm then going to name that sheet, if I double click it, Fill, F-I-L-L, not to be confused with P-H-I-L. I'm then going to hold the control key and wheel forward just to zoom in, and I want to start with days because Excel understands days. Actually, I might not wheel that far in just so I can see the first 26 rows. Okay, so in A1, today is Wednesday, so I'm going to type Wednesday. Now the first thing I notice is Wednesday doesn't quite fit in the column, so I'm going to put my mouse up here between column letters A and B, and my mouse pointer turns into a black line with two arrows pointing east and west. If I double click that mouse pointer, it automatically best fits the column. So you've got to get up to the column letters because you're talking about a width of a column. You can't double click on a cell level. It has to be up in the column letters level. So up here between the two column letters, you double click and that adjusts column A. Okay, so anyway, we click on Wednesday and our mouse is typically a big white cross, but I'm looking for the thin black cross that appears when I'm in the bottom right corner of that cell. And I want to drag that thin black cross down to row 20, and even as you drag it down, you may see a little tooltip popping out and giving you Saturday, Sunday, Monday, but I just drag it down to row 20 and I let go. Immediately it gives me a list of days. That's what it feels compelled to do. And what I want to therefore head to is this little autofill options. If I go into the autofill options, it is currently giving me a list of days starting from Wednesday, including Saturdays and Sundays. So it's giving me weekdays. But what if I'm creating a roster or a schedule and I don't work weekends? Then I can choose to fill it with weekdays instead of days. Filling it with weekdays actually gets rid of the Saturdays and Sundays. But if I change my mind and think, no, actually I do need the Saturdays and Sundays, click the button again and tell it to fill days. So we're going to have a look at some of the fill options you get with these various settings. So days it understands, and I'm filling it with days. What about if I go to B1 and do the short version of a day? And let's say I want to start with Monday, so I'll go Mon. It understands short versions of a day as well as long versions of a day. If I then want to fill that down, I could drag the thin black cross, but now that I've got some stuff in column A, if I double click that thin black cross, it'll go down the same distance as what's in column A. So I double click instead of dragging. You only have to drag the first column. Each subsequent column you can just double click to fill it down. And then I want to get it higher between column letters B and C, and I want to double click there to adjust the column width. So we can safely say it understands days, but what about months? In C1, type Jan or January, whichever you prefer. When I press enter, I click back on January because that's what I want to fill. I head to the bottom right corner of my thin black cross. I could drag, but I'm just going to double click and it'll go down to row 20 and it gives me the months. If I then double click the line between C and D, September will fit correctly into that column. So we can safely say short and long version of a day, short and long version of a month. But what about a date? Let's go 25th of the 2nd, 23. When I press enter, dates automatically adjust the column width, and 23 will become 2023 and 2 will become 02. So we press enter. Dates are a little bit special. Then I'll click on that date and I'll double click the thin black cross. And immediately it gives me dates, each incrementing by 1. It says that there's 28 days in February and it then goes into March. What I could do is head for the little fill options, and if I do that, I could say actually just fill it with weekdays. Suddenly the 4th and the 5th are missing, and so too is the 6th, because they are obviously, not the first one though, and the 11th and the 12th, because obviously they're Saturdays and Sundays. If I go back and choose days again, then I get my Saturdays and Sundays back. But what if I go back in and say, actually, can we fill it with months? Which means I'll get the 25th of each month. 25th of March, April, May, June. And then I think, well, what does fill years do? That'll give me the 25th of the 2nd for each year, 2024, 2025, 2026. So those fill options are actually quite exciting. You've got different options in there. Fill the years, fill the months, fill the weekdays, fill the days. I'm going to go back to filling the days. Now if I go to E1, let's try something different. 25th of the 2nd, 24. If I press enter, the 2 will go to O2, the 24 will go to 2024, and the column width will be adjusted to fit. If I then click on that date and double click the thin black cross, it recognizes that 2024 is a leap year, something I'm likely to forget, and it gives me 29 days in February for 2024. So it's quite a clever little feature. But then I might decide, what day is the 25th of February 2024? So I go up to here, and just like we looked at in an earlier video, I change it from a short date to a long date. And I can clearly see that the 25th of February 2024 is a Sunday. What about 2023? I'll click on column D, I'll go for date, and I'll change it to a long date. And in 2023, 25th of February is a Saturday. So you can easily then format those dates. Okay. Now, what if we wanted a list of dates or numbers that incremented by more than one? Let's do this. Let's say I have a payment or a meeting every fortnight, maybe every second Tuesday or every third Friday. The idea is you give it 2. So let's say next year my first meeting is the 3rd of the 1st, 23. Now, if this happens to you, you get a series of hash signs, do not panic. It just means your column's not wide enough. And that's probably because I use my control wheel to zoom in and zoom out. If I zoom back, I can see it. If I zoom in, I can't. So this often happens, and all you've got to do is double click the line between F and G to adjust the column width. Now that's my first date, say for my meeting or my payment. And then 2 weeks later will be the 17th of the 1st, 23. So give it a second date. Now I'm wanting every fortnight, so there are 26 fortnights in a year. So I'm going to have to go down to row 26. I need to select both dates. Big white cross, select both dates. By doing this, you're saying to Excel, there's a pattern between these two numbers that you want extended. And we talked about dates being numbers. So I'm going to now go for my thin black cross. I'm not going to double click because there's more than 20 fortnights in a year. I'm literally going to drag beyond row 20 and down to row 26. And that, because I selected both of them and dragged the thin black cross, is every fortnight in 2023. Now, what day is that? So I'm going to go up to my format and choose a long date. And that is every second Tuesday for the 2023 year. So this one is in week 1 of the calendar year, and this date is in week 3 of the calendar year. I select the 2 of them because I have a pattern which increments by 2, and this time I can double click because I want to go down the same distance as the column before it. So this time I can double click the thin black cross. So my second meeting is in week 3, my third meeting is in week 5, and my final meeting for next year will be in week 51, the 19th of December. Really handy. Give it 2 and fill it down. So let's have a look, another example. Let's say for whatever reason I just want to see the numbers 1 to 26. If I put a 1, it automatically formats it as a date. Now we've looked at this in the earlier video, so please check out my earlier videos. If something changes to a date and you don't want it to be a date, put it back to the good old general format, no specific format, and that'll show you your 1. Now, if I then go and double click and fill that down, because I do want to go down to row 26, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to 26. Doesn't do it, just gives me 1. So I'm like, well, that's no good. So I might just drag that back up and rub that out. So that's when you say, well, I have to give it 1, 2. Again, the 2 goes and changes to a date, so I'll change it back to general. It's knowing how to deal with these situations. I give it a 1, I give it a 2, they're both formatted as general, I select both of them, I double click the thin black cross, and now I get 1, 2, 3, 4. So when you do a 1 and fill it down, it doesn't increment. You expect it to, but it doesn't. It's too simple a number. So we actually have to give it 2 numbers, 1, 2, and then it goes, you want 3, 4, 5, 6. Same as this situation. You know how we type Monday and we fill it down, it naturally wants to go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, etc. Well, what if that's not what I want? What if I want Monday, 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 Monday? Let's undo that. Underneath it, I'm going to type Monday again. Select both of them and double click the thin black cross. By giving it 2, you've told Excel, I don't want you to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I want Monday, 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 Monday. Give it, so I would say there's a little bit of a rhyme. If you double click and it doesn't do it, give it 2. Oh, I can't remember the rhyme. But yeah, double click it, and if it doesn't do what you want it to do, then give it 2. That's the rhyme. Double click the thin black cross, and if it doesn't do what you want it to do, give it 2, and it will. I hope you enjoyed that video. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Please like or subscribe my videos. See you soon.